Are you ready to be the happiest person that you know? I hope so, and I want to be the guy to take you there. My name is Joe, and I'm a retired firefighter, and I'm the happiest person that I know, despite the fact that several years ago, I literally had a gun to my own head after an on-the-job injury forced me into a medical retirement, followed by the loss of several loved ones, and a dark battle with grief, PTSD, and depression. But I fought my way out of that and I prevailed, and I gained unshakable joy and the amazing ability to be totally okay, even when my life circumstances aren't okay at all. And now, nothing brings me greater happiness than sharing with people the tools that led me here, which is exactly what I'm doing at the Grit, Growth, and Gratitude podcast. I'm dropping episodes every week that teach you how to maximize your happiness when times are good and barrel through any obstacle when times are rough. So subscribe now wherever you listen to podcasts, because you deserve to have way more thrive days than just survive days, and to have a kick-ass life that you enjoy. I'll see you there.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. It's Tuesday, April 25th, 2023. And one word, guys, hallelujah. Hallelujah, because we now have a new championship that Roman Reigns does not have. And it's not the U.S. title. It's not the Intercontinental title. It's actually a championship I propose they bring back. I think a few weeks ago, I said this, that they should bring back the World Heavyweight Championship, and by God, they did. Triple H reintroduced it last night on Monday Night Raw. I think this is great. I have no complaints. The way the belt looks, would I have done that? Nah, I probably would have kept the way that it was. But if the physical appearance of the belt is my only complaint, then I think I'll take it, as we now are able to finally crown a champion, presumably on Raw, as many people expect Roman to stay on SmackDown. It is now going to be a much more enjoyable show from the perspective of being able to not be so focused on the fact that Roman Reigns isn't there. I mean, this is clearly an admission by WWE of their plan of having Roman there every so often and having him defend his championship every other pay-per-view has worn a bit thin. And it's clear that also that Roman Reigns has this schedule for some time moving forward. Otherwise, they would. Here's the thing: if they were going to drop the belt anytime soon, I don't think they would introduce this championship. So this is also further evidence. If you're looking for Roman to not be champion anymore, then this is evidence in the opposite direction, right? Because if they were going to have it drop to somebody that's going to be there consistently, then they wouldn't have to reintroduce this championship. So I think that we can all rest easy, or not, depending on your point of view, that Roman is going to hold that championship for quite some time moving forward still. I mean, at this point, honestly, I think there's a significant chance he loses it at, say, SummerSlam, as that is their second biggest pay-per-view or PLE of the year. But I also think there's a even more significant chance that going to WrestleMania 40, Roman Reigns is still champion. Presumably, now I've said this for 3 years, but presumably, if he faces The Rock, it looks like he will have the championship, at least in my estimation. Now, you could look at this if you want to be on the negative side and say now Raw has 3 top championships. Well, not really, right? I mean, 3 physical belts, but 2 championships, and we dealt with 2 championships and were just fine with it for years when there was brand splits and had no complaints. And then they unified them at WrestleMania 38. And that's when we realized, wow, there are massive drawbacks. I'm sure the guys in the back are elated about this. And there's some discussion to be had about who's going to be capturing this championship. It could be Seth. It could be Cody. I think those are your top two, as this presumably goes to Monday Night Raw. And I think one thing is clear, though. One thing is clear, and then I'll get to a very insane possibility. Okay, here's the most likely scenario. This is clearly going to a babyface champion, because WWE cannot help themselves when a babyface becomes champion, especially for the first time or for whatever time that they're champion. Maybe it's the second or third or fourth, whatever. When they topple a heel champion, an established heel champion, what do they do? This goes for the men and women. They immediately, as babyfaces, make the declaration they're going to be fighting champions. I hate that, okay? Because to me, as a fighting champion, sure, you should defend your championship, but first and foremost, shouldn't you have respect for the championship that you just scratched and clawed to win? And you're not going to just hand anyone an opportunity at the belt that you earned? No? I mean, I understand that the narrative is you don't want to look like a coward and that you'll fight anybody and you're a tough guy, right? I understand the psychology, but when you scratch away the surface level stuff, you look at this and go, you know what? Heels actually have, arguably, more respect for the championship than babyfaces do, because the heels are more selective in who they fight. Now, I know you'll say, well, the heels fight when they want to and they back down from fights. But do they really? They always, most anyway, outside of Roman, and really Roman has faced every challenger that's come his way, every single one. They eventually end up fighting and facing that individual anyway. So, this whole story that they try to tell that baby faces are supposed to be anyone, anytime, anywhere for this championship actually makes the baby faces look like fools and actually devalues the belt that you're telling me is supposed to be the top prize in the business, and yet anyone at any time, anywhere can face it, fight me for it, and I'm supposed to, because I'm a good guy, accept that, and at the expense of the value of the championship, I'm supposed to fight anyone, anytime, anywhere for this? Shouldn't they earn it? Isn't that the point of this top belt? No? Is this the 24/7 title, right? So, that's the massive issue I have with that whole narrative. And they don't see that, or they hope the fans don't care, and they just go, well, yeah, it should be anybody, anytime, right? The heels are cowards, but I look at it a little bit differently. Nonetheless, in WWE logic, to my point, the way that Triple H was describing the whole the whole Roman Reigns run, and how Roman has a schedule that allows him to not have to defend his championship regularly, addressing the concerns of fans. And look, I appreciate that. It's about damn time. And fans were really happy in Chicago, really happy, and rightfully so. I think this is a decision that is unanimously applauded by both fan and backstage, honestly. And rightfully so. It's been a long time. And I think this will also get the heat off the company for having a champion that isn't there nearly enough to warrant how often he's being, main event. He's main eventing this and that, and how Roman is, constantly in the main event of WrestleMania and of every premium live event that he defends the championship, against. And it's also been very predictable most of the time for Roman's outcome, that you look at 95% of his opponents thus far in nearly the 3-year run, and you're like, yeah, no chance. The first one to come along that in Roman Reigns' run you said maybe was Drew at Clash at the Castle, and WWE nearly went with Drew, if you read the stories that came out after. And then, of course, Cody Rhodes at Mania was a believable person to stop Roman and Sami Zayn. So it really wasn't until recently that you looked at any kind of championship matches with Roman and said, hey, there's a chance here. Most of them up until recently have been nah. It'll be a fun match, but nah. With the Raw, they're the World Heavyweight Championship. I like how there's lineage. I hope they go through the lineage, even though the belt looks physically different. And by the way, I would advocate for Roman to have a singular belt so it doesn't look like there are 3 championships. I would hope that they unify the WWE and Universal into a singular belt so that it looks like there's 2. We'll see if they do that on SmackDown. But the lineage of the World Heavyweight Championship is important. And yeah, it goes back to WCW. It goes back to when the Invasion happened. Booker T, The Rock held it. Famously and most importantly, I think Triple H held it during his heel run for, it felt like, years. Yeah, so it's been around the horn, and it's got a lot of lineage and value, and I think they should remind fans of that. They should remind us and put a video package together of what this belt means, that they didn't just pull it out of thin air like they did with the Universal, that they actually have lineage behind it. Who held it? What did it mean? Show some promos, show clips of matches. That is what's going to help this belt instantly. For those that may not have, for newer fans, may not know that this actually has a lineage, it'll get them up to speed. And also those that have forgotten, I think it's a good reminder, because the belt's value is key here. Now, let me present something to you that may scare the hell out of you. It's very unlikely, but it's possible. And when I say possible, I'd say like a 5% chance. Okay, so I'm not saying it's likely or it's going to happen or even there's a significant chance. If I was to put a numerical value on it, 5% chance this happens. But what if, brace yourself, they do a tournament or however they decide at Night of Champions that this belt is awarded, is won by whoever. There's a tournament, I would imagine, probably following Backlash. I would imagine that there's going to be a tournament style in which there's going to be, a bracket of 16, 8 and 8 on each side. And we get down to the first round, the second round, the semifinals, the finals, that kind of thing. That's how I'd imagine it's going to go, because that'll eat up TV time. It's a great way to continue to have fans come back and look at the brackets, and it's a fun thing. Tournaments make sense. Tournaments make sense, and I think that sometimes they're not used enough. Some of you hate tournaments, but hey, every single major sport in the United States uses a tournament style to determine a champion. But what if in the bracket we see the usual suspects, right? You'll see everyone from Ricochet, maybe. Of course, Seth Rollins and Cody are in there. Maybe Braun Strowman's in there. That kind of thing, right? But what if at the very end there's an injury to someone, a planned injury, and it ends up being that the person filling the injury in the final at Night of Champions is none other than Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns wins the World Heavyweight Championship. Think about that. Do I think WWE has the balls to do it? No, I don't. Because I think it would completely undermine the purpose of this belt. At the same time, I would love to see the fans' reaction to this, with Roman holding 3 championship belts, but in theory, in principle, 2 championships, but representative of 3 belts. Imagine the uproar. Imagine the outrage. Think about this. I don't think it'll happen, because Triple H also made it abundantly clear that whatever brand Roman goes to, he stays there, and that the opposing brand will get this championship. So it doesn't sound like it's even feasible. But what if? It's fun to think about, because the outrage would be brilliant, but also as a fan, it'd be super frustrating just to watch. And they introduce a new championship just to have Roman win it. So, again, I want to be clear. I'm not predicting this, but it's in the universe of possibility, okay? Something to think about in the way, way, way far back reaches of your mind. It's fun, right? So, but anyway, I think the most likely candidates are Cody and Seth. And actually, I think Cody is the one, if you're going to put, the proverbial gun to my head, I think Cody's the one that probably wins this, because I think Seth has a story to tell on SmackDown, which I presume is where SmackDown, or where both Roman and the Bloodline and Seth are going to reside. And Seth brought it up in his promo on Raw, talking about how on Roman's long defeated list, those that who's who of who he's defeated, Seth Rollins is not on that list. A very interesting accolade that he has over Roman, and a story that's completely untold. Again, the last time those two met was the Royal Rumble 2022. Okay, so that's what, 15 months ago, longer. So that said, I think Seth does not win. I think Seth goes to SmackDown to have a great story with Roman Reigns. That's what I think, and Cody ends up winning. That's my best guess. And plus, I think it would counter Roman's heel run on SmackDown with presumably a Cody Rhodes run on Raw, and the fans are really into Cody. And again, I understand why. He's got a very catchy song. His entrance music is brilliant. His entrance itself, beyond the music, is real. It's not overdone, over flashy. He does have pyro, but it's very simplistic. And there's nothing flashy about his entrance other than that. It's not overdone, overthought. And, again, I'm coming around on Cody as far as, supporting him as a champion. I still think his best days are as a heel that are coming up maybe in a year or two. But right now, I understand why people like him. I totally get it. I understand why he's really good on the microphone most of the time. He's really good in the ring, and my God, credit to him. He's gotten himself in just Olympic level shape. He is in incredible shape, and good for him. I have nothing but the utmost respect for him. And all the suits and things, the suits fit him. I may not love them, but I understand. Again, I'm all understanding of this, and so I don't want you guys to think I'm a Cody hater, although we all have our own opinions, but I totally get why people love him. So that's it. I think Cody ends up winning this at Night of Champions, and Roman Reigns, whoever he faces at Night of Champions, which will mark his 1,000th day as champion, he does win that match in Saudi Arabia, by the way. All right. So I wanted to open with that. So again, very long open here, but welcome to the WWE podcast. And I want you guys, if you're interested, to check out our ad-free version of the show. It's on patreon.com/WWE podcast. If you want to join us there, we can get you ad-free for $1 a month. If you want to go higher, you can also check out the exclusive podcast for SmackDown and higher, SmackDown tier and higher, and that is the adult version of After Dark, where we talk about any and everything. I just posted one last night, very R-rated. It's not wrestling related most of the time, very adult content. It's over there, Patreon, if you want to head on over there, or WWEpodcast.com. You can get everything ad-free there, or you can head on over to Apple Podcasts. There's an ad-free button right there, and you get us a 1-week free trial if you want to check us out. All right, so let's dive into Monday Night Raw a little bit further here. So Raw opened with Cody coming out, and crowd again was loving this. He talked about, of course, first of all, they're in Chicago. But if you're interested in our thoughts here on the show about CM Punk backstage, listen to Anthony DeMarco and myself last night. We talked about it at length, about the CM Punk appearance backstage, if you're interested. So I'm not going to be talking about that here. But can Cody, the biggest, actually, if I was going to talk about the biggest issue I have with him from any perspective, wrestling or otherwise, he needs to drop the whole, what do you want to talk about? It's like trying to be cute. Okay, and it's not something the crowd can react to. It's an open-ended question, not a good thing to ask an audience. And I know I've talked about this before, but he keeps hammering it, and I'm going to keep criticizing it. It's not funny. It's not cute. I know he's trying to make it a thing. For you fans of Mean Girls out there like myself, a movie from 2004, fetch ain't gonna happen, and I don't think this is gonna work either. He's trying to be clever, but when you're dealing with a mass crowd, you can't ask them open-ended questions. What do you cheer? What are you cheering? Right? Exactly. Like if you cheer that statement, what are you cheering? If you boo it, why are you booing? And if you just answer it, well, there's a million answers. People aren't unified around a single thing. People don't know what the punchline's supposed to be. There's no sing-along here. It's open-ended. Bad idea, Cody. And it's annoying, too, because you can tell he's trying to make it a thing. So, enough. Find something else. And for as smart as he is, I don't know how he's not catching on to this. Nonetheless, he talked about having to slay the beast. And he spoke about Lesnar waiting until his back was turned to jump him. And he wanted to show the fans something else. And he removed his jacket and then pointed to his scar and from the surgery that he had from the torn pec. And he said he noted it was the first time he stood in the ring in Chicago since he faced Seth Rollins in Hell in a Cell match. And once again, he stated he never actually watched the match back. And he said to Lesnar, pick a spot to add a new scar, and credited the Chicago crowd for picking him up and carrying him across the finish line during his match with Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell last year. And he just thanked the fans. And Finn Balor came out and he said, we all got scars, mate, which is actually really true. Right? Like we've all got scars. We've all battled through injuries. Like kind of a good point by the heel. Like, this is what we do. We constantly work through pain. It just happens to be that Cody's was very visual. Now, would every star have done what he did? I don't know. Hard to say. But every star has worked injured, guaranteed. So what he did while he's saying he's not trying, Cody that is, not trying to pat himself on the back, you're patting yourself on the back in a self-aware way that makes it look like you're not, but you are, because otherwise you wouldn't draw attention to it at all. If you really didn't want any admiration for it, you wouldn't bring it up, right? And show fans again where the scar, like, I understand it, okay? All right, let's move on. You knew this was going to end up in a Balor match, and he tried to get Cody to come to the Judgment Day. And as expected, Cody turned him down. And Balor said that Cody made a big mistake. And he said that you're going to have to watch your back. And then Cody revealed that he is now medically cleared to compete. So here we go. Cody and Finn Balor have a match. We'll get to that a little bit later. First up, though, was Jimmy Jay and Solo versus Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Cruz del Toro, the LWO. Good match here. Ended in 8 minutes or so. And I thought it was fine. But the winners here, again, are the Bloodline. The LWO was not nearly on the same level as the Bloodline. No need at all for the Bloodline to take a loss here. So after the match, though, Jimmy and Jay delivered an in-ring promo and said that they would regain the Undisputed Tag Team Championships on Friday and that they're going to dedicate their win to their tribal chief, Roman Reigns. So, interesting that they said that, because that's the whole story they're telling, is that they're going to redeem Roman, redeem the bloodline, redeem the family. And we all know that's not going to happen, which is going to further fracture the relationship between the Usos and Roman. That's the whole point of this rematch. So, on top of the fact that it's a great main event for SmackDown, I'm really looking forward to that. I don't expect it to be as good as Mania. It's not a fair standard to hold to this match, but I'm expecting a very good, just a quality wrestling match. How can it not be with those four? All right. Then we get a Raw Women's Champion, Bianca Belair, who was interviewed by Kathy Kelly, and said that Belair will defend her title against Io Sky at Backlash. And Dakota Kai, Bayley, and of course Io Sky interrupt the interview, and Bayley sang the praises of Sky until Sky interrupted her to speak in Japanese. Kai and Sky, not to be confused with Kai and Tai, said they wanted to face Belair tonight, or Kai said Sky wanted to, and then Bayley cut in and challenged Belair to a 6-woman tag match. Look, Belair is not in a good place right now. Belair right now is probably the least interesting she's ever been in both of her runs as champion, from last Mania to this past Mania, winning it. There needs to be a shakeup here with Bianca, big time. She needs to do something different. And I'm thinking, again, heel turn makes total sense to me. We'll see where she ends up. I would imagine she's staying on Raw, but who knows? I mean, maybe she'll get a new opponent. Hey, where the hell's Alexa Bliss, right? Where's Lacey Evans? Maybe putting on makeup at boot camp? I don't know. Maybe Bianca. I mean, I honestly don't know where those two women are. They kind of come and go. But for real, I mean, Bianca Belair right now is in a very odd, declining place. And I don't mean declining in a way that makes me concerned for her career. It's just that time to make a change. That's all. And a change to heel, or a change to something different. Maybe, I don't know, change her entrance a little bit, or add an edge to her babyface character. I don't know, something. She just is going through the motions every week, and they're not doing a whole lot with her. And she's the champion. That's what makes this even worse. So that's my 2 cents on that. All right. On to, we had Jay on the phone. He said he handled their business like they always do. And Zayn showed up and said he wasn't there for a fight, but he added it was weird they were going to dedicate a potential tag team title win to Reigns rather than Jay doing it for himself. And Zayn questioned what would happen if the Usos came up short now that they put Roman's name on the match. And Jay said, or asked Zayn why he cares. And Zayn said he feels bad, and Jay told him not to feel bad for him and said that he and Jimmy would take back the titles. So Zayn continues to work on Jay. Eventually it's going to work. Eventually Jay's going to see the light, and that's going to be a fun day at the office when that happens. Jimmy returned the favor later in the show, talking to Zayn after he was briefed on the fact Jay and Sammy had a conversation. Owens didn't like it. Jimmy didn't like it. And Jimmy countered by talking about how once they lose the belts back to the Usos on SmackDown, that Owens is going to turn on him. So a little bit of tit for tat there about, people are going to turn on each other based on who loses. The losing team is going to collapse is essentially the story. It's still a fun story. This story is very much still alive. And I think after Friday, I think we can kind of move on a little bit, though, from the Usos and KO and Sammy. And from there, it's really going to dive into Roman and the Usos and how the drama plays out, and eventually when Jay and Jimmy break off. That's going to be, I think, the ultimate destination, wherever that may be.
Are you ready to be the happiest person that you know? I hope so, and I want to be the guy to take you there. My name is Joe, and I'm a retired firefighter, and I'm the happiest person that I know, despite the fact that several years ago, I literally had a gun to my own head after an on-the-job injury forced me into a medical retirement, followed by the loss of several loved ones, and a dark battle with grief, PTSD, and depression. But I fought my way out of that, and I prevailed, and I gained unshakable joy and the amazing ability to be totally okay, even when my life circumstances aren't okay at all. And now, nothing brings me greater happiness than sharing with people the tools that led me here, which is exactly what I'm doing at the Grit, Growth, and Gratitude podcast. I'm dropping episodes every week that teach you how to maximize your happiness when times are good and barrel through any obstacle when times are rough. So subscribe now wherever you listen to podcasts, because you deserve to have way more Thrive days than just survive days, and to have a kick-ass life that you enjoy. I'll see you there.
All right, moving on. So we then got a Stratus interview from Kathy Kelly, and Kelly mentioned that Becky Lynch hadn't been on Raw in the last 2 weeks, and Stratus said Lynch confided in her that she was having a hard time handling the pressure of being a mother and a top star. Stratus said she had to take Lynch out of her misery. So a nice, quick little promo from Stratus. And while it wasn't as in-depth as her one the week before, it had more personality. She had a little bit more of a snarky kind of pitch to her instead of just the monotone. So I like that. And it seems this heel role seems to fit Trish very well. And you're also wondering, what is Becky going to do when she comes back? I'd imagine she'll probably play it off like she was hurt, that her childhood hero turned on her and all that. And, you don't want to meet your hero in real life because you'll be disappointed. That kind of narrative. And that's fine. But eventually it's going to turn to anger. And I would imagine it's going to turn to a match at Backlash that will be set up next week on Raw. I would imagine. One also quick note, and this came from Spencer. He messaged me on Instagram from the previous Monday Night Raw. Remember when Trish cut her promo last week, the longer form one that was well done by Trish, although monotone, still really rich in substance, I thought. And if you guys remember hearing the crowd and hearing how much they booed last week, and it seemed overwhelmingly... the reaction from the crowd didn't match the words from Trish, and it didn't really match her star power at this point either. And I was a little bit suspicious that WWE was pumping in crowd noise. And luckily, Spencer, who was in Little Rock last week, attended Raw, and he said that the arena was booing Trish and wadding her during her promo, but it wasn't as loud as it sounds on TV. So I think that's confirmation. I mean, having somebody, well, thank you, Spencer, first of all. Second, having someone in person confirm this and then also watch back the crowd noise, it's confirmation that they certainly were inflating the reaction to Trish. And also when you looked at the crowd, if people were booing as loud as they pumped it in last week, people would audibly be yelling. You'd see arms flailing. You'd see it's more active than it was visually. If that reaction was real. So thank you, Spencer. I had my suspicions. Okay. So the Street Profits then came out for a match against Shelton and Cedric. Oh boy. This was 2 minutes, and it had the Street Profits beat Shelton and Cedric, and really, like, who cares? I mean, I'm ready for the Street Profits to break up. I hope that the draft does split them up. This could be, and Graves pointed this out. Corey Graves pointed it out. This could be the last time that they have a match together, and it could be, because I'm ready for those two to split. It's time. It's done. Let's do it. So, all right, let's go here. We got Triple H's announcement, as I mentioned. We already went through that and the whole introduction of the World Heavyweight Championship coming back. And then we got Kathy Kelly approaching Damien Priest backstage, and he was speaking with Finn Balor and Dominic, and Balor asked if he was invisible, which was funny. And Priest said it was awesome and touted Bad Bunny's credentials that he was going to be at Raw. Boy, my God, they hyped the Bad Bunny return. They hyped the Bad Bunny return like The Rock was coming back, or it's just really, the hype was insane. And look, Bad Bunny, I ate my words a couple years ago at WrestleMania. I thought it was going to be a disaster. Thought it was going to be embarrassing. And Bad Bunny really took it seriously and kicked ass at WrestleMania 38. So I've got much more respect for him than I feel like I otherwise would. But let's see. It was just a bunch of it was basically like a rundown of Bad Bunny, and he said if Bunny was coming to play games, then he was really looking forward to him. And Dom spoke up about Priest taking out his deadbeat dad, and Priest he said he would exterminate Rey Mysterio. So we also got a nice Bronson Reed vignette. This was really nice, and if you've never heard him speak, his voice doesn't fit his body, and I don't mean that in a way of like Brock Lesnar, where I think his voice actually takes away from his character because his voice doesn't fit the way his body looks. It feels like it should be deeper and more commanding, where Brock Lesnar's voice is a little more high pitched and kind of raspy. And like, to me, it doesn't fit, at least the way that they would perfectly like. But with Bronson, I think even though it doesn't fit, it's good. He's got a nice voice to him. He's got a nice, at least in this vignette, it was nicely done. And he said that in his promo, or in his vignette, he doesn't think anyone can compete with him. He talked about his strength, his speed, his power. He said even if they could compete with them, they all want to be nice guys. They all can take selfies, sign autographs, and kiss babies, but they don't measure up to him. Good stuff. Simple to understand, to the point, quick highlight reel of Bronson's dominance, and it gives you encouragement that they're building new stars. Or if you're looking for new stars, here's a great example of how to, in one method, for one night anyway, how to build those stars. And I'm high on Bronson Reed. Ever since he showed off in the Elimination Chamber what he can do and had arguably one of the best nights of anyone that night, at least in terms of an unexpected way, he is a big star in the future. I mean, in 2023, do I think he'll capture a singles championship? Probably not. He might compete for one. I think he actually, isn't he in a triple threat? I'm sorry. I think he is in a triple threat for the United States Championship. I think it's Bobby Lashley, Bronson Reed, and Austin Theory. So he'll compete for one. He is on a Backlash, but I don't think he's going to win one. It's not time yet. We haven't really gotten to know him. So I think Austin Theory will retain there, but all right. Moving on. We got, let's see, Jimmy talking about himself as main event Jim Uso, right-hand man Jim Uso, which is weird. And Jimmy got upset that Jay talked to Sammy and Solo calmed him down, and that was pretty much it. But the seed of doubt was planted about what if we lose? And we told Roman this match is dedicated to him. So again, a very interesting, fun story going into Friday, because it's really not about the tag belts. It's about who loses. The tag belts are secondary to this, and that's okay because the Bloodline storyline has been so good for so long that the title belt in this case can take a bit of a side seat to the other bigger story, more developing story of Roman and what he'll do if the Usos lose, which is what we're headed towards. All right. Then we got Bianca Belair, Raquel, and Liv versus Damage Control. And this one ended in about 9 minutes with Bianca, Raquel, and Liv beating Damage Control. And after the match, Sky glared at Belair and ended up yapping at her from the floor while the babyface is kind of celebrated in the ring. So is this the most unexpected outcome? No. I think that it makes sense that Bianca, Raquel, and Liv won this match as you're trying to establish dominance for Bianca. But I don't know. I don't feel a whole lot for Bianca, as I said. And, Raquel and Liv, they've been trending on the heel side, to be honest. They've been really trending heel since they won those women's tag team championships. So, I don't know. I don't feel strongly about Liv and Raquel. Bianca, I feel apathetic towards, but strongly that she should change some of the content of some of her character, or evolve. How about that? Whatever that means. Evolution is what needs to happen with Bianca. She has been frozen in time for a long time now. A very long time. She's almost robotic in everything she does. And she's great in the ring. But character-wise, every entrance-wise, she is the exact same. That needs to change to continue moving her forward. All right. Let's see. Austin Theory Live took place. Theory said it's the experience that everyone wants to be a part of. And Theory said Bronson and Bobby both want experience. And he talked about how he's the best U.S. champion in a long time. And asked where the respect was because he didn't pick his opponent. And Theory pointed out that the new championship belt at ringside and said it would end up around his waist. And said Triple H said that the title should be earned, and he's earned it. Theory delivered the usual complaint about how he could lose the title without being pinned, and "you suck" chants broke out. And he acknowledged it and then said that he's the guy who pinned Cena at WrestleMania, and fans responded with a "you tapped out" chant, and said Theory said you were watching the greatest of all time. I mean, that's just a joke. Lashley came out and slapped hands with the fans and referred to Theory as a kid and said the only problem he has with him is he's holding his title. And Lashley asked Theory when he would start stepping up and accepting every challenge that comes his way if he wants to claim he's the greatest U.S. champion in history. Again, I totally disagree with that. Totally. All right, so Lashley said he requested the triple threat for Backlash, and Theory asked where Lashley's WrestleMania match was, and Lashley said he should knock Theory's teeth down his throat for saying that. Theory threw a sucker punch that Lashley ducked, and both men ended up at ringside where Lashley completely dominated Theory and hoisted Theory up on his shoulders, and Theory slipped away and shoved Lashley towards Bronson Reed, who was shown at ringside, and Theory hit Lashley from behind. And lastly, we had Reed had Theory hold Lashley against the ring post, and then Reed splashed Lashley again. So the heels got the one up here, but Reed went up to the top rope and did hit a tsunami splash on Theory, and then held the title up, standing over Theory. I think that, again, that is, I did read a review of that because it's important to note some of the details here. I think, first of all, Reed holding up the title ain't gonna happen. I think it's a nice little bit of a litmus test to see how the crowd reacts, if they react at all to that visual of Reed holding up the U.S. title. But it's also the closest he's going to get for a long time. And that's okay. Because I think ultimately what's going to happen, we're going to have, I think, early prediction, Theory pin Lashley, but it's going to be because of the tsunami splash on Lashley, in which Bronson Reed can't recover quick enough, and Theory gets the 3 count and steals the victory. Thereby, Reed can claim he was never pinned, and we have Austin Theory able to escape with the championship. So, all right, what else? Let's see. Chad Gable introduced Otis and said he made sure they would be drafted together. Maxine Dupree showed up and said she made sure that wherever Otis goes, they'll go, and bickered until Mustafa Ali showed up. And that's when we got Chad Gable versus Mustafa Ali. Ali went for his finish, but Gable rolled out of the way, and Gable went for a rolling suplex, and Ali countered into a pin and got the victory. So Ali beat Gable in just under 2 minutes. Ali gets a victory in his hometown. That's significant. And that's pretty much it. All right. So Cody and Finn Balor ended up next, and a really good match here. I mean, these two could get 20, 30, 40 minutes, and it would be a classic, I think. Cody did beat Finn in about 11 minutes, and then after the match, Cody went into the crowd and stood on a chair while playing to the fans, and Cody dropped off the chair and slapped hands with the fans. And so, a good match, competitive, right person won. I enjoyed it, really did. I thought this was it was kind of a match that you could make a main event if you built up Finn a little bit more. And, I mean, you could still make it a main event, but Finn needs to have a little bit of damage control, no pun intended, and needs a little bit of repair. After the loss to Edge, the 14 staples, losing to Cody, he needs a little bit of repair to his character. So it's a main event you could absolutely have, but I think Finn's character needs a little bit of redemption. All right, let's see what else happened here. Oh, we got the Omos and MVP thing with Seth. And look, Seth and Omos came out of absolutely nowhere. Okay, it was announced on SmackDown. No one's really interested in this match. It's just there. Hopefully this is Seth's final BS program before he gets drafted to SmackDown. And maybe he'll go with Rowan right off the bat. But I think right now you're going to have Seth beat Omos one way or another to continue to build Seth as a credible opponent for Roman, a believable one that he could beat Roman for that championship. So I think that's where they're going to go. Some would argue that having another championship devalues the one Roman's got because Roman could claim there's no equal to him, and he's got both belts and he's the undisputed champion. So like, if you're the undisputed champion, well, that means there shouldn't be any other champions out there to contest that claim, right? But whatever. I'm thinking too much into it. All right. I have a couple notes here that I wrote down. I said Riddle saying everyone thought Randy was going to RKO him every week and it never happened. First of all, that's not true. Okay. When we had Jimmy trying to get into the ear of Zayn and how Jimmy was trying to convince Zayn that Kevin's going to turn on him if they lose the match on Friday. Riddle talking about how when he was with Randy in RK Bro every week, that everyone was saying, look out, Randy's going to RKO you. And Riddle said that never happened. It didn't. That's not true. Riddle, yeah, it did. In fact, that's exactly how RKO was born. Remember? Randy RKO'd Riddle after he annoyed him so much, and Riddle still stuck by Randy's side. So if you're trying to be technical, fine. Randy never RKO'd him while I believe they were labeled as RK Bro, but that's the RKO that everyone knew was coming did happen, and that's actually how RK Bro was born, was out of the very thing you said didn't happen. So that was just a flat out lie, but fine. Like, it made sense for the story purpose. So, all right. So yeah, MVP and Seth had a bit of a I guess spat with one another, and eventually Seth walked off. No physical altercation happened. Nobody's really interested in this. I'm sorry, nobody is. All right, Rey Mysterio was backstage and warming up, but here's the other thing. I would like WWE to tell us how this draft is going to work. They haven't given us the parameters of this. Again, how? What's the format? They've done drafts in several formats before. What's this year's? It's really weird that they haven't given us a format, but all right. We then got Rey Mysterio versus Damien Priest, and the match ended in a DQ because Priest threw a chair at the head of Mysterio. Yeah, he threw a chair at the head of Mysterio. That was weird. But Rey Mysterio, because of DQ, beat Damien Priest in about 11 minutes. And then Priest put Rey down with the South of Heaven. And that's when Bad Bunny, who had already made his way to the arena, came out to even the odds with a kendo stick. And Bad Bunny hit him several times and got the best of Damien Priest. And then talked about how, got on the mic as Priest is nursing his wounds going up the ramp, and how he's not there. He's no longer there at Backlash to host, but rather to kick his ass in a street fight. So one-on-one, interesting. We'll see if that devolves into a tag team. I still don't know if they're going to do one-on-one Bad Bunny and Priest. I think the story is better told in a tag team, so you can kill two birds with one stone. And having Rey team with Bad Bunny, I think is a better matchup, a better marquee match. So I think right now it's a singles street fight, but I think it'll be maybe a no DQ tag team match. Maybe how about that? So you keep the no DQ, but add Rey and Dom into the mix. That's, I think, eventually where they're going to go. I really do. Because otherwise, what do you do with Rey and Dom? Can't have them face off again, can you? All right. Well, anyway, good edition of Raw. I enjoyed it. I thought it was solid. It moved things forward. It's in Chicago. And, anytime they're in a big city, they tend to make it a bigger show. But next week, Brock Lesnar does come back. So let's kind of keep an eye out, folks, to see if Brock Lesnar provides an explanation. You think I forgot? No, I didn't, because WWE thinks you did, and don't be stupid enough to fall for it. We still have no explanation as to why Brock attacked Cody. And the weak excuses that the announcers, by the way, are guessing at, don't cut it. The excuse that Cody gave about how... Let me remind you of the two reasons. Both, by the way, both are speculative in storyline terms because none of them came from Brock directly. So not only are these weak and totally go against Brock Lesnar as a character, but they're also speculative, which makes it double bad. But here are the two speculative reasons why Brock attacked Cody. Number one, it's because Brock was not happy with the position on WrestleMania compared to Cody. And also... and by the way, when has Brock ever been a jealous character on top of so many other things? And number two, Cody said that it's because Cody came to be an agent of change to WWE. And, again, even if, which is not true at all and is not consistent with anything Brock Lesnar has ever shown over 20 years in wrestling, let's pretend it's true that Cody or that Brock is not happy with Cody trying to be an agent of change in WWE. Let's pretend. What exactly has Cody changed? And when has Cody ever mentioned he's here to change something? Neither are true. On top of the fact, it doesn't make sense for Lesnar's character. So they are really grasping at straws here. So I think that they think that those weak excuses are enough, even though we didn't get to hear from Brock himself. So I guess next week is really the last chance, and I'm going to guess they don't do it. And they just brawl, and it ends with no explanation from Brock, which is, again, absurd to me. But it's still a fun match. I'm sure it'll still be a really good match with Brock and Cody. It's different. It's not a super predictable outcome, although Cody's leaning the favorite here, especially if you're trying to make him your new world heavyweight champion. So I would imagine Cody probably wins, but of course, next week before the show, we'll give you a full preview and prediction breakdown. All right, that'll do it for me for the Raw review. I hope everybody is enjoying themselves this week as we get to the mid part of the week. You can join us on Patreon for ad-free at patreon.com/WWE podcast if you want to go ad-free, or on Apple. There's an ad-free button there, or WWEpodcast.com. Thanks, everybody. And as always, I'll talk to you next time.
Are you ready to be the happiest person that you know? I hope so, and I want to be the guy to take you there. My name is Joe, and I'm a retired firefighter, and I'm the happiest person that I know, despite the fact that several years ago, I literally had a gun to my own head after an on-the-job injury forced me into a medical retirement, followed by the loss of several loved ones, and a dark battle with grief, PTSD, and depression. But I fought my way out of that, and I prevailed, and I gained unshakable joy and the amazing ability to be totally okay, even when my life circumstances aren't okay at all. And now, nothing brings me greater happiness than sharing with people the tools that led me here, which is exactly what I'm doing at the Grit, Growth, and Gratitude podcast. I'm dropping episodes every week that teach you how to maximize your happiness when times are good and barrel through any obstacle when times are rough. So subscribe now wherever you listen to podcasts, because you deserve to have way more thrive days than just survive days, and to have a kick-ass life that you enjoy. I'll see you there.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.